Welcome to the Stepmom Side with Alicia Crasco, the podcast for stepmoms ready to create the life they want and one they actually have a say in. Here we talk all things stepmom life and just a little bit more. Leave the superficial conversations at the door and get ready for perspective shifts and actionable advice to help you on your way to creating the life you want, one step at a time. Hi, Jessica. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to talk to you too because sleep is so important. But before we get into it, like my listeners may or may not know you. So who are you? What do you have going on? Like, what are you going to talk to us about?
Yeah. So my name's Jessica Watterud. I am a licensed professional clinical counselor in North Dakota. And I am also a functional blood work specialist. So looking at like your blood work numbers and what is your body telling us it needs. And then what I've really done with this is tied this into mental health as well, because everything like you can't work on one thing and not the other and get good results, right? So you can
Yeah.
get some symptom reduction and a little bit better, but when you're working with the whole picture, the whole person, that's when you really see dramatic change. So, yeah, so I do both of those if that's what people are wanting, or just kind of like make it personal. So,
Oh my
um,
gosh, that is really cool because my husband and I were talking about this the other day, or actually a couple weeks ago, but he had said, what I need is like a body manager, like for my health. And I
yeah.
was like, yeah, right? Because typically, like, your doctors don't talk to each other. Like, if you go to one specialist, they don't talk to the other one. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, yeah. So, and I have had so many people talk about this. So, it's like think about your thyroid, right? So you go to someone who, like an endocrinologist or even your general practitioner, and we're looking at thyroid. Well, that's one piece of the puzzle. So that is one part of your body, and really, it's a system in your body that affects all other systems. So if all we're looking at is that, I'll just tell you a little bit about my story on how this all happened for me. Because I've been a therapist for a while, but I didn't get into blood work until probably 4 years ago. Because I was having my own struggle. So I had had my fourth son and I was so exhausted. Like I would literally be driving to work trying to keep my eyes open
Oh my
and
gosh.
was just living on coffee. That was how I made it through the day. So I was not doing a great job. I was not providing the best service to my clients at that time. Um, and so I went to my provider and was like, something is wrong. I should not be this tired. And
Hmm.
I was told, well, you're a mom. Like,
Oh my
no,
gosh. Yeah.
my grandma had 10 children. Like, there is no way I am supposed to feel like this. So I basically forced her to test my thyroid and my vitamin D levels. And so I get the blood work back, and she's like, everything looks great. Try to maybe get some more rest and drink water and like all those things that they tell you to do. Um,
Because you have enough time to do them.
Yes, yes. Lots of time. So I'm like that, no, like this is not normal. I drink tons of water. I'm sleeping more than I should be. I would like on weekends, I would take a nap every single day because I just could not function. So like this cannot be what life is about. So a friend of mine actually told me about someone who reads blood work and looks at optimal ranges rather than medical ranges. And my thyroid was off, my vitamin D was low, and I was not absorbing B vitamins. So get all of that in line, and I went through it was a 6 month program. I went through the first 3 months and I was like, holy crap, this is how people feel. I have never felt like this in my whole life. It's like I didn't even know that I was supposed to feel differently than I had. I had just been like making it through, right?
Yeah.
So then I learned how to read blood work myself because I'm like, everybody needs this. I'm thinking how many of my clients have been struggling and they think it's depression or they think it's anxiety. And it is, they don't have enough vitamin D or, their body isn't absorbing the nutrients they're taking in or their iron is low, um, yeah, so now I've been doing that with my clients and I have my I'll just tell you a little like one client story that was just incredible. So we like this woman's goal was to get out of bed and change her clothes. Like
Um,
she was spending so much time sleeping or just like I can't get out of bed and had a lot of hard things in her life. So like, we're treating depression and it made so much sense. Well, here I just asked for her blood work. Vitamin D was normal, but very, very low. So we got her on high dose vitamin D. Oh my gosh, Alicia, you would not believe. Complete transformation. It's not like everything in her life was perfect. That
Mhm.
wasn't the magic cure. She still had a lot of mental health stuff to work through, but she could get out of bed and she could garden and she was going on bike rides. I mean, it was just unbelievable, the change in her.
Yeah, your
So,
blood work says so much. I did
yes.
blood work like a month and a half ago, and everything checked out like normal, right? But I was like working with somebody, kind of like functional doctor, right? To like see what was what. And we eat pretty clean, like kind of like do all the right things. But I was just like, I don't, let's just try something different. I didn't have like, I couldn't, it wasn't like I couldn't get out of bed, or it wasn't that I was lethargic or anything like that. I was just like, there has to be something more. Like there's
Yeah.
just something else. And so yeah, I did some blood work and like changed my diet a little bit. And I used to run a lot before I had my daughter, mostly like as a stress reliever. And so it was like I needed to run. Like I was addicted to running because I needed like the stress relief from being a stepmom and like all of the step family stuff. And then once I got pregnant with her, like I kind of like one later in my pregnancy, I stopped running. But then I kind of like missed that like endorphin, like that high of it. And so I've reincorporated that back in like 5 years later, but I digress. But it's interesting because just like little diet changes, different nutrients that I've added in, I don't feel like I need to get a snack in the middle of the day, or
Mhm.
I feel completely like enough energy for like even if I'm running or whatever the case may be. So yeah, it's your blood work is so telling, right? Because I could look at you and be like,
Yes.
oh yeah, Jessica's fine. But then
Mhm.
you look at somebody's blood work and you're like, wait a minute.
Right.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah, that's so crazy. But I
Yeah.
like
And
that you do like the whole body.
mm, yeah, it's just I felt really stuck in some cases, like, gosh, we're doing all the things and this we should be making more progress. What's going on? And
Oh my
um
gosh. Yeah,
then
there's
I'd
that
see their
aspect
blood
too.
work and I'm like, holy cow. And sleep is the key to all of it. I mean, so just to kind of circle around to tie all of this in, if you are not getting good quality sleep. I don't care how many hours you're getting. If it's not quality sleep, your emotions are going to be off, your ability to handle stress, how your body functions and heals. It's just, you're not going to get the results you want. So that's where I start with everybody. What's your sleep like?
I will say I'm a good sleeper, like I was saying before I started recording. I am a really good sleeper. I do like to sleep. I get really good like deep sleep, core sleep, all of the things. But if I don't get like good sleep consistently for a few days, I end up getting sick. And
Hmm.
if I'm short on sleep, it's amazing how well I do not handle stress. I do not handle the chaos very well. Like I'm very irritable, I'm very snappy, I'm very like I'm a monster, right? So talk to
Hmm.
me like quality sleep, right? What is that? Because you hear people like you need quality sleep. Great, thanks. But can you break that down for me? Like what does that mean?
Yeah. Okay. So an adult needs 7 to 9 hours of consistent sleep. Okay. Everybody wakes up in the night. It's normal, but you should be able to get back to sleep quickly. And some people don't even know that they wake up. So if
Mhm.
you have like an Apple Watch or something that would kind of monitor your patterns, yep, then you can see that. Like I was awake, maybe I was, rolling over or something, but not everybody's aware of that slight wakefulness moment. I am aware of it. I know when I wake up, but it's very quick for me to go back to sleep. Like I don't even it. I think it's probably seconds even that I wake up, roll over, out again. So you should be doing like that. It should be a consistent sleep where if I'm waking, it's very quick to go back to sleep. And it's pretty easy to fall asleep. Now, it's not going to be like that for everybody every single night. We're all going to have those nights where like I woke up at 4 in the morning and I could not get back to sleep, or it was so hard to fall asleep last night and it took me 2 hours. Like that happens now and then. Usually it's related to like stress or we drank caffeine too late in the day, or there's something that we can point back to and say this is what caused that when we've been getting consistent sleep. But it should be this nice, like I'm getting 7, like I need closer to 9 hours to feel well, right? So, but not every, my husband can get closer to 7 and do just fine.
Why are
So
they like that?
I
Why?
don't, no idea. I mean, honestly, he doesn't even do that sometimes, and I
Mhm.
would argue that he is not getting good enough sleep, but he disagrees with me.
It might be
So
the same married. We might be married to the same person, but yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So, but like I'm the same as you. If I don't get good sleep for a few days, I feel it immediately. I will wake up and be like, yep, something's coming on right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if I can get some good sleep that night, it will be gone. So, it has a very fast impact on me. I also think that um with everything that and you probably notice this, Alicia, like with everything that you're doing for your health, you notice things coming quickly because you're a little more in tune.
Mhm.
The great thing about that is that we can address it quickly.
Mhm.
So if you're paying attention to the differences, a lot of people I notice, like they don't even pay attention to how different they feel. You got 5 hours last night. You got 9 hours the night before. What was the difference? I don't feel anything different. You do. You're not aware of it. Like your body, there's things going on in your body. So sometimes it's like helping people get back in tune with what's happening in their body and being able to pay attention to that. There's a lot of emotional components to that where somebody would disconnect from the sensations they're having in their body. So that's where that all ties in. Like we have to help you be connected with what's happening in your body so that you can be aware of how what's off and then what you need to do about it.
Okay, so what would you say, like, to get quality sleep, like, what would you say is an ideal setting?
Okay, so there's some things that we know that are really helpful for sleep. So dark and this is something I just learned. It's so interesting, but it makes so much sense. You should not be able to see your hand in front of your face
Oh
when
yeah,
you
it
turn the
has
lights
to
off,
be dark,
right?
yeah,
So
like
it should be
blackout.
like cave dark, you know.
Mhm.
So
I
very
could sleep
dark.
in a cave and be perfect.
Yep, me too. That would be fantastic.
Cool, dark.
Um, and so I don't do well with white noise, so this is a little bit more of a preference, but white noise is one that's very helpful and slightly cold.
Mhm.
So those are things that are really promote better quality sleep. Um, Doing things on the front end, like even before going to sleep, like setting yourself up is really important. So having a routine, our brains like repetitiveness. So we will train our brain depending on what we're doing. If I go to bed at 9 o'clock and then 11 and then 10:30 and I'm jumping all over the place, my brain has no idea when sleep time is. But if I mean, we do this with kids, right? We have a consistent bedtime. There's a routine before bed, and this is all to train their brains. And
Weird,
then we stop
right?
doing it when we're adults. We still need it.
Yeah.
So, having a nice routine and things that are screens are not helpful. And I like almost everybody knows this, but to actually change that and remove it from your bedtime routine,
Mhm.
that is something that a lot of people don't do. So ideally, you don't have screens 2 hours before bed. I usually start with people like, let's start with a half hour because I know 2 hours feels like a lot when you're used to like, oh, I go to sleep with the TV on. Um,
Mhm.
but studies have shown like what blue light does, and even sleeping with the TV on, and I'll have people talk about, well, I leave my phone on, but I have it facing away from me. Well, even that is you're not getting quality sleep. You might be going to sleep, but it's not quality sleep. So,
I
um,
noticed a difference, just like to talk about that for a second. I don't typically sleep with my phone in my room, but if my husband is
mhm,
gone, or neither of us do actually, um, but if my husband's gone, I will. But yeah, you're right. There, it's like I'm aware that it's there, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Earlier, my daughter was asking me how is dirt made. Maybe I should Google that now, even though I know it's worm poop. Or like, just it's right. It's convenient, right? It's right there.
yep,
And I think there's some sort of level of like technology addiction for everyone,
absolutely.
right? And so
Yep.
it's just like that. So I think that you're right. Like it's just that awareness of like, yeah, you're going to bed, but you're almost like hyper, like subconsciously like hyper alert
Hmm.
that it's there.
Yes.
And like, is it gonna go off? Is it okay? Wait, maybe I didn't hear it vibrate. Maybe I didn't, whatever. Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally.
And that might not even be something that like is a conscious thought, right?
It's the
So,
anxiety of it. Yeah. Wait,
yeah.
okay. I'm gonna write this down so I can ask you about this later.
Okay.
So I don't want to like derail you.
Um, so just going along, and I don't know if this is going to go along with your train of thought here because so anyway, um, our nervous systems can get kind of wired to the phone. So this is partly about the addiction piece. Um, I think most people have felt that like I forgot my phone, a little bit of maybe very high anxiety, maybe a little bit of anxiety, but we've all felt that, right? Um, we're very in tune with our phones. They're just like our lives are there now. I mean, we have access to everything, our emails, we stay in contact with people, like everything's on our phone now. So we can get very in tuned with that. So, like you were saying, that is a very real nervous system response, or I'm automatically a little bit more on edge, and my nervous system is activated more than it should be at sleep time because my phone is there. So
Mhm.
even removing the phone from the room can calm that nervous system response. Not the first time. This is consistent behavior. But so if you're used to sleeping with your phone in your room, it's not going to work to do it one night. But
Okay.
consistently
Yeah.
removing that stimulus will help.
So this totally goes on par like with what I was like writing, but I was like, I don't want to like derail this because my stepkids are out of the house now. But when they were teenagers at our house, they couldn't sleep with their phones in their room
Mhm.
because
Right.
of that. Because
Yes.
they would be, we have Apple stuff at our house, so I could see like their screen time. And yeah, if they would sleep with their phones in their room, they would be on them until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then they get up at 6, 7, depending on like if they've got sports in the morning or not. And why am I not getting enough sleep? Let me help you. Like
Yep.
you can't, right? Well, like my friends, no, it's yeah, we that was something that was like it's non-negotiable. Like we don't sleep with
Mhm.
our phones in our room.
Yeah.
You need to
Yeah.
get
And
sleep.
I work with a lot of teenagers and you maybe got this. But I use it for my alarm or
Yeah.
listen to music.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
There are so many tools that you can use that don't require your phone, where you can still listen to music. Like I listened to music growing up and I didn't have a cell phone.
How did you do it
So,
then?
well, there was something called a boombox.
Oh wow. Okay, you had one
Yeah.
too.
So it's possible. And there's alarm clocks, all these things but when you grow up with this stuff and you're just with this stuff, like you don't really
Uh-huh.
realize how it's affecting you. I mean, I talk to my kids get an excessive amount of this from me and they don't believe me. They don't, my son actually got devices taken away for a month because he was using them inappropriately.
Oh, we've done that
And
too. Yeah.
yeah, and
I
he
see
was
you.
like, we talked about, he was about to get it back and we talked about it and he was like, I noticed that I am not so crabby and he's 10, it's like I'm not so crabby when I don't have that. So, I mean, they can get it, but you got to remove the stimulus for them to get it. You're not going to get a teenager or even a child to say, "Yeah, I can see that this device that I really have fun with is affecting me in a negative way, so you should take it away."
Yeah. And we don't do that
If
as
you can
adults.
get your kid to do that, please teach me how you did that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that you say that you work with teens and yeah, we heard the same thing. Like I use it as my alarm. And actually I have a clock right here because I'm in the guest bedroom, which is now my office, and my stepson's um room is right there. But there's a clock in there and it's one of those ones from like, I don't know, like way back when, but like the colors are, I mean, the numbers are different colors. And whenever we have guests, they're like, "Oh, this is a fun clock. Like it's got like different colored numbers." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's nice. It's a clock. It works." Right.
Right.
But yeah, so I love that you like we kind of like spiraled off on that. But yeah, it's just the anxiety of like all of the notifications coming from all of their friends and I don't have notifications turned on my phone because I can't do it. Like
Mhm.
like I can't do it. It's not for me. But with them, it's like every second, it seems like every second of every day is ding, 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 ding,
Yep.
ding, 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 ding. And throughout the night, like, no, not
Yeah.
good.
No, and I mean I could go off on a huge tangent on this stuff too, but I mean I've worked with teens and their phone goes off and they have to look at it. I had this one kid and it was just so telling for me and like I didn't experience this, so it was just so much good information for me. Um because we had talked about, not having your phones. And he was like, I have to respond to this because if I don't respond to this, here's all the backlash that I'm going to get. I have to open it and respond because if I leave him on red, here's what's going to happen. Like this huge amount of pressure
Hmm.
to respond to that. And that was in a therapy session where like we could process through that anxiety. Imagine that happening in the middle of the night.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I think that obviously technology is great, right? But like something I read, heard like 2 years ago that said technology is great because it brings you closer to people that you're far away from, but it also puts you far away from people that you're close to. And I
Yes.
was like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I can definitely see that, right? Because
Hmm.
our phone is like our third hand and you're like, oh, let me check whatever. It's too easy to like just let me check my DMs, let me check my email, okay, what time was I meeting Jessica today again? And right? And you're in
Yeah.
the middle of whatever, but like bing, and then you have instant access to whatever you want. Yeah, I have definitely noticed it. So we don't do phones at dinner either. We're like super old school like that, but it's a habit that I don't want my daughter to have as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And more than 7 hours of screen time actually contributes to sleep problems, anxiety, depression. Like there is a direct correlation. The higher the number of hours. I have not seen a teenager yet when I've asked how much screen time they're getting where it's less than 7 hours. Not a single one.
Wow. I thought it was
Which is
like high
mind
with like
blowing to me.
4.5.
Yeah, I mean, to be in school all day, which okay, I know that they go on their phones during the day, but like to be in school all day, and let's just say that you technically follow the rules and aren't on your phone, and then to be on your phone for 7 hours, like that is your entire day,
Mhm.
So of course you're having trouble sleeping. Of course you're feeling stressed out and your anxiety is really high. So yeah, it's just I could go on about screens for a long time too, but
All right. Let's talk about the routine, like the bedtime routine, because you talked about
mm,
that. Like, we're training our brain to like get into sleep mode. What what is a good routine? What are things that like we should incorporate? What should we not incorporate? Obviously, screens.
mhm. Okay, so what your routine is not hugely important as long as it's consistent.
Okay.
So the two things that are very important, no screens and something calming.
Okay.
So that could look different for different people. For me, it's reading. Like I reading gets me set, but I've also done this since I was just little. So now if I don't read, my sleep is not as good because that's my brain is used to that now. Um, but I have like I've had people, honestly, I've had somebody read their math book. Just use
Totally.
something boring.
Yeah.
So this was a teen to try to, reset their brain and get it away from the screen. And because they'd wake up in the middle of the night and flip the phone on because they couldn't get back to sleep, which was making it worse. So it can be anything as long as it is not stimulating your mind too much. So video games, no. Um, even doing some like light physical activity is okay. Some people will go for walks or just something that's going to be calming. But as far as the rest of it, I like to have a routine be about a half an hour in length, just to give you that time to um, calm everything, get in a flow.
Okay. And then what do you say when people are saying like, oh, well, I'm a night owl or oh, like I'm an early bird?
Hmm.
Is that true? And
Okay, yes. Okay, so people do have differences in like where their natural sleep wake cycle is. So the hard thing is that the world doesn't necessarily always work with that, but you can adjust your sleep,
Mhm.
your sleep patterns. Okay. So a good way to test this is like a day that you don't have to go anywhere, you don't have to get up early, like there's nothing going on. So say like on a Saturday, I've got nothing going on. Go to bed Friday night when you naturally feel tired. And then when you naturally wake up, pay attention to what those times are. Give it so this would I guess it would be a weekend when so then Saturday night same thing when you naturally feel tired and when you naturally wake up and just to get your baseline. Okay. And then you start slowly moving it back by a half hour. So if I naturally go to bed at midnight and naturally wake up at 9, that's not going to work very well for my work week. So I need to slowly start moving it back. perfect scenario, we've got a good 10 days to do this where we can be flexible with things. So you're going to slowly start moving it back by a half hour. I'm going to go to bed at 11:30, get up at 8:30, then go to bed at 11, get up at 8 until I get my system readjusted so that I'm getting a good. And I also need to know how many hours I need, right? So that'll help too, me figure out when do I feel my best. So you got to play with that a little bit. It is a little trial and error to figure out what works for our bodies. Do I feel better at 7.5, or do I feel better at 8 hours, or do I feel better at 9 hours? And see, like, you've really got to pay attention to when do I feel like I have the most energy and I'm most functional. Um, so it takes time. It's not something that we can just say, okay, tonight I'm going to go to bed at 10 o'clock. I'm going to get up at 7 and I'm going to switch my routine and everything's going to be good, because it's really retraining your brain.
Mhm. So what if somebody goes to bed? So we're gonna do, let's hypothetically, we're gonna do this scenario, and I
Mhm.
go to bed at 9, thinking that I'm gonna wake up until at 5, but let's say I sleep until like 8 or 9. What is that telling me?
Okay, there could be multiple things here. Um, your body may be working on something. If you like, think about when you're sick, you sleep
Mhm.
more because your body needs to sleep when it's sick. There is, um, oh, let me see if I'm going to get these words right. Okay. So there's like inadequate sleep, and then there's non-restorative sleep. Okay. So inadequate, I'm not getting enough hours. Non-restorative, I'm not getting quality sleep so that my body isn't getting what it needs. But then when I'm sick, I need more restorative sleep to help my body do what it needs to do. The body can't really tell the difference between external stress and internal stress.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
internal stress is a virus, bacterial infection, something your body's fighting. External stress is family, work. We all know what external stress is.
Yeah.
Um, it doesn't know the difference. It's stress, right? So it's going to react the same way. So if I have more stress in my life, I'm probably going to end up sleeping more, but it's not restorative sleep necessarily.
Okay.
A lot of people that are going through um, higher levels of stress wake up in the middle of the night and have trouble getting back to sleep. There is a time that's pretty common, like between 2 and 4 is a pretty common time for people when they're under more stress. And that's been true for me too. So I don't know the research behind that, if that's actually legit or not, but it does seem to be pretty common.
Okay, so if somebody is like in high stress and they are waking up 2 to 4, like that time frame, and they're having trouble going back to sleep, how, like, what do you say to them to get them to reset or to help them go back to sleep? Like, what are some tips or strategies that you've got?
So again, something boring. Changing where you're at. Okay, so we don't want to wire the brain that the bed is for wakefulness. Okay, so you don't want to do a bunch of stuff where you're awake in your bed. Okay, your bed is for sleep. Okay, so I'm not gonna like watch a movie in bed. I'm not gonna play cards in bed. Like bed is for specific things, right? So if I'm having trouble sleeping, moving to a different place can be really helpful for the brain. So, what I'll have people do, if you're waking up in the middle of the night and then you can't go to sleep for 2 hours, if it's been a half hour, 45 minutes, move to the couch or move to a guest room, like just get to a different environment. And that is really helpful for people. It wires so that this place is not for being awake. This is for sleeping.
Yeah,
Same thing if you have trouble falling asleep at night. It's the same kind of concept.
I like that you touched on that specifically about your bed is for sleeping, right? Like we don't,
Mhm.
like I said, I don't typically sleep with my phone in my room. We don't have a TV in our room. I don't watch things in there, but I do know that if I have my phone, like if I do sleep with my phone next to my bed, it's probably the first thing I'm going to grab in the morning. And then I'm like,
Mhm.
it's a conscious effort to be like, no, we're going to put this down. We're actually going to get out of bed. I'm not great at it all the time, but yeah, I like that you touch on training your brain to know that your bed is for sleeping.
Yeah,
That's so important.
it is. Yeah. I mean, so much of this is about training your brain. All of these things, it's what we're learning about how the brain works and how these pathways affect everything else, like how we feel, how we think, everything. Um, and then it gives us so much more control over what's going on. It takes work. It's not like you can snap your fingers and it's better, but over time. And I have this client that's just got such great insight. And she's like, gosh, it really is just the little things that you do every day that makes such a huge difference. I never would have thought that, but
Right.
it's just these little changes that you make.
What is one thing about sleep that you didn't know before you got into this that you're like, I wish everyone knew this?
Mm. Um, oh my gosh. So I wouldn't even say that this is necessarily like specifically related to the blood work, but this is something that I've learned. So I'm also an EMDR certified therapist. Um, every everything is processed in our sleep. I mean, we process throughout the day, but like the bulk of our processing of our daily stressors or even like huge traumas happens when we're sleeping. So if we're not getting quality restorative sleep, we're not doing that. So then you think about, okay, I have stress in my life and I'm not getting good sleep. Now it's just accumulating and it's like this mountain that's I'm never getting through
Mhm.
and it feels super overwhelming. And now I'm not sleeping because of that, and it's just this circular issue. So when we work on sleep, we're also reducing that stress load and your tolerance for handling it. So um you said this at the beginning, like I can't handle stress when I'm not sleeping. None of us can.
Yeah.
We believe we can, but we're not handling it where we could. So when we're getting sleep and we're processing through like my stress from yesterday, everybody's had this experience. I have something that I'm really worked up about, really upset about, really stressed, and I wake up the next morning and I'm like, oh, that really wasn't that big of a deal. I don't know why I was freaking out about that. It's because we
Yeah.
processed it while we were sleeping. And the great thing about that is like it didn't really take that much effort on our part. We just slept and our brain
Yeah.
did its work.
Yeah.
So I use this all the time, like the movie Inside Out.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's
I use
coming
it
up.
all the
Inside
time
Out
in
2 is
therapy.
coming
Like
up. Yeah.
that literally happens when you're sleeping. There is pruning and like we're getting rid of those memories we don't need and sorting things out into where they belong. That's what's happening in the brain.
That is so cool. I could totally nerd out with you about like brain stuff and like because I
Mm.
love to be in the weeds. I think it's really fascinating.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Yeah.
So cool how all that stuff works.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Can we switch gears though and talk about like eating and sleep? Because you had
Mm.
mentioned this too, like if you eat too late, it affects your sleep. Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, so your body's working. It has to work to digest your food. There's processes involved. And then also depending on what you're eating affects. So like if you're eating a lot of sugar, a lot of carbs, or even, like high protein, that's a lot. It takes a lot of energy for your body to burn, like break down protein. So um there is, I'm sure like a lot of people have probably heard this, but even thinking about how food affects your dreams. So, oh, if I eat really late, then I have super weird dreams. Well, it's because your body's working there. Like there's stuff going on. It's doing all of this. It's trying to break everything down. Most people care more about like the weight aspect. If I eat too late, then I gain weight.
Okay, talk about that. Like what's that about?
Well, it's just sitting there. You're not burning the calories. So it's now I ate and it's just like hanging out there till I
Mhm.
get up the next morning. Where if I'm eating and then I'm going for a walk after dinner, well, two things are happening. I'm helping that digestive process because I'm getting things moving and I'm burning some calories. So it's not just like hanging out in my body. I'm using the energy that I'm putting in, which is what eating is for. It's to fuel our body. um, there's other aspects of that too. Like, why are we eating late? Is it boredom? Am I emotionally eating? So if I'm eating because I'm bored, well, I'm not going to sleep well then either, because we do need to have stimulation throughout the day to get the energy out and allow ourselves to sleep well at night. We've all seen a difference in our kids, in the winter with their sleep versus in the summer. And we're like, oh my gosh, this is so great. They go to bed and they go to sleep and they sleep all night, because there's more activity. There's fresh air, there's sunshine. So that all impacts our sleep too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
What about if let's say we don't eat late, but we're not getting enough sleep? Does that affect your weight as well?
hmm Yeah, because your body isn't able to function the way that it needs to, right? So our body will go into survival mode. So even, I mean, I've even worked with people where they've got a really high emotional stress load that their body will hold on to weight.
Hmm.
And then when we work through some of the emotional stuff, they can begin to lose weight. So our bodies will go into survival mode and protect. Because it biologically, we were wired from way back that when there's higher stress levels, we need to conserve and hold on because, stress was there may not be food.
Yeah.
So I need to hold on to more to be able to survive for longer periods of time. That's
I think
still the
it's so
way.
fascinating. Like it's 2024, we're not
Mhm.
living in caves anymore, like hunting
Right.
around stuff, but like we're still like biologically wired like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I find sleep really fascinating because I don't think people, like we talked a little bit about this before we started recording, but it's such a pillar of mental health. And I don't think that people realize that. Like we talked about it a little bit at the beginning, but it's like if your sleep is off, you can't function, right? And like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm just going to fuel myself with caffeine.
Yeah.
What happens there? If you're low on sleep and then you're just like pouring caffeine into yourself, can you talk to me about
Oh
how?
my gosh. It's so bad. Don't do that. Anybody stop doing that if you're doing it.
Okay,
Okay,
wait, but
so
then you like want to fuel yourself with caffeine, but then when you didn't get enough sleep, you just want to eat everything. Can you talk to us
yeah.
about both of those things? What's happening?
Okay. What is going on? Okay, so when you're not getting enough sleep, um, so many things. And this is where this gets so individualized, right? So is this about like what is your history? Like, is there trauma in your past? Are you fighting a virus right now? Are you like is there just increased stressors at home or at work or whatever, right? Like that is going to affect like what's going on with the body specifically, but um speaking of the nervous system, okay, so I didn't get enough sleep. I didn't get that like restoration for my nervous system. I'm still kind of working on some stuff here, trying to process the stress. So my nervous system is still at a level. It didn't get to come down where it needed to be and stay there for a while because we all should be going like this a little bit throughout our day. Like we're regulating all the time, you know? So even thinking about like, okay, I'm down regulated. I don't have the energy, so I drink coffee that brings me up. Okay. Um, that is an artificial regulation. But even so, think about like, okay, um, this happened to me this morning, almost hit a pheasant this morning. So I had to slam on my brakes. And you have that like nervous system reaction and you take some breaths and are like, okay, I didn't hit it. It's okay. And you're kind of talking yourself down. And now I'm down regulating again. Right. So we're doing this stuff all day long. Some of them are, hopefully it's not as big as that, but,
Yeah.
this happens all day. We have kind of our mid-afternoon slump a little bit, and maybe we get up and walk a little to get the energy levels back up. But that's normal. That happens to everybody. Um, if I'm not getting good sleep, I didn't get to have that nice like down, my nervous system gets to rest. So it's already, say it's supposed to be here, it's already up here a little higher than it should be, right? Well, now something else happens and now it's up here. Maybe I use food to help regulate. Well, food affects our blood sugar levels. So in a way, it does help us regulate, you know? So my blood sugar is, so I've had blood sugar issues my whole life, that I can remember anyway. Um, so if I don't eat pretty much right away in the morning, I feel anxious and it's not anxiety. It's my blood sugar.
Mhm.
So, but everybody has a little bit of that. It's just very pronounced for me. So we're using food to regulate too. Well, if that's the primary thing I'm using, that's going to affect my weight. That's going to affect how I feel because I'm probably not eating great things. Like when I have a blood sugar dip, the things that I crave are not good things for me. Like I want carbs, I want candy, stuff that's going to boost that quickly. Not the most helpful stuff, but if I'm not getting good sleep and my body, like I'm not able to regulate very well, food feels like a way to help regulate, but it's not going to give me that good long-term regulation. So I talk to people a lot about this, and it's in DBT therapy. They talk about like emotion regulations versus distress tolerance. So distress tolerance skills would be things we use in the moment to just bring it down. Okay, so like deep breathing or sucking on a hard, like a sour candy will distract me from the emotional intensity, like things that we would do right then that would bring it down quickly. And emotion regulation is the stuff we do daily just to kind of keep us balanced and in line, like eating healthy, getting some exercise, getting sunshine, like those basic things that we forget about. Um, so when I'm using food as a distress tolerance to bring it down and regulate the emotions, it's supposed to be more of an emotion regulation. This is something that I'm doing consistently. I'm eating at good times of day. Like some people need to eat smaller meals more frequently, and that helps their body more than 3 meals a day, you know? Um, okay, am I answering the question? I feel like I'm just going off
Yeah.
on
No, you totally
tangent
did.
here. Okay.
About like, so I had asked like why, like what happens when you have caffeine? Like what happens there?
Caffeine.
That
Okay.
was the one that you missed. Yeah.
Yeah. So caffeine gives you that spike, right? So
Yeah.
that brings your nervous system up. So if I'm here already and now I'm spiking it, I'm activating that nervous system to a higher level. Well, we all get the crash afterwards, you know. So when we're artificially giving the body things to help regulate, that wires the brain too. So um, I'm going to go off on a little bit of go get on a soapbox a little bit here. Sleep aids. I despise sleep aids. um, it teaches your brain that it can't do it on its own. It needs something. So this, like, you can't get addicted is not the case. Like there may not be a biological addiction, but there is a psychological addiction because even melatonin, I'm artificially giving my body something that's natural, but then my brain will stop producing it. So we want to really pay attention to what are the messages that I am giving my brain because it's going to respond to those. So if I'm using caffeine to give myself an energy boost, I'm going to get dependent on that because my brain is wired now. Like, this is like, we need this to feel this way, right? If I'm relying on sleep aids, my brain is like, this is what I need. This is part of my routine, right?
And girl, go get it. I need it. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
interesting because I saw something, this was like 8 or 9 years ago. So my stepdaughter was having trouble sleeping. And the doctor had said, like, we should give her melatonin. And then we had done research on it about how for kids, it actually has like long-term bad effects for them. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what, really? But you're the first sleep person that I talked to about it. Like, so, but I'm like, oh, that's interesting that, yeah, it's shutting that part off in your brain to be. It is so wild, though. I mean, I know, like, literally, we know this, like, your body is connected, but literally, like, everything is connected. Like, it's just
Yeah.
so crazy to me. Yeah.
It is. I know. And it's so like, sometimes I get, like, do I even know anything? Because like there's so many, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much information out there. Um, and how it all works. And yeah,
Yeah.
so interesting.
I think that sleep is so interesting too, especially because it affects so much of your life. Like if you didn't sleep that well the night before, like you said earlier, like it's just like a vicious cycle that you're going to be in, and you can't seem to get off of it. And then when you're like, wait, because I think people don't really think about sleep that much. Like it's just something that I do at the end of the day. It's,
Yeah.
I'll sleep when I'm dead, like whatever, like you only live once, whatever the case may be, right? Whatever your
Mhm.
little mantra is. But yeah, I've always known that like I need a bunch of sleep. I'll tell you a really funny story. And my husband and I had started dating, like I had moved into his house. And so I had come here to like spend the night and I don't even know what we were gonna do the next day. So I was so mortified. He is an early riser, has always been an early riser. Like on our honeymoon, I was like, will you please sleep in like one day? Like just one day. And then he did, but then I was like, you know what? Just get out of bed. Like is just like fidgeting around. I'm like, just get out of here. Like go.
Yeah.
But I had come here to like spend the night and he said, okay, hey, I'm gonna get up. I think it was like 7. And that was like sleeping in for him. I'm gonna get up. And I was like, okay, I'll be up in like 10 minutes. And he comes back like 3 minutes later, seemingly. And he was like, hey, are you gonna wake up today? I was like, it's been 3 minutes, chill out. And he's like, Alicia, it is 10 o'clock. I have done laundry. I've gone for a workout, like gone for a run. I got to a workout in, like I did, and I was like mortified. I was like, okay, well, I'm awake now. Let's
Yeah.
get on with our day.
That worked.
Yeah, but I was like, I need, and we had stayed up late the night before. So yeah, my body's like, well, I'm gonna sleep in. Where he is, if he stays up, like he still wakes up at the same time. And I'm like,
Mhm.
that doesn't work for me. I need to wake up.
Yeah, I didn't used to be like that. So my kids are all early risers. That was a fun surprise.
Yeah, that is
So
not a fun
I have
surprise.
always been someone to like stay up later and sleep in, and I am no longer like that. This is where rewiring the brain comes in because I will wake up early now. Like I am the one that like I slept until 7:30. This is awesome. Um,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
so because I'm just so my kids get up like they're up at 6:30 every single day of the week. It doesn't
Oh
matter.
no.
I
I
mean,
was
we're
gonna
not
say I
even
have that.
allowed to stay up late on weekends because they will still be up at 6:30.
Are you
So,
okay? Blink twice if you need help.
thankfully they're old enough now that I can be like, fine, you get up, go do your thing,
Yeah,
just be quiet.
yeah.
Right? But yeah, that's where going back to what you were talking about, like some people just really are able to stay up later. Like my kids are not capable of sleeping in. Their bodies wake up. My my husband will get so mad at my 10-year-old. He's like, just sleep in. He's like, I can't. I don't know how. And he just doesn't. It's not even like he's trying.
Oh my
So,
gosh. Yeah. Okay, wait. Because I hear people like, oh, I get up really early because I'm more productive. I blah blah blah. So if somebody is trying to do that, right? Like I have thought that, like, oh, and I'm caught like in this weird like conundrum. Like I'm a late night too, like a night owl. Like, oh, you know what's good? You know what's good to do at 2 a.m.? Let's repaint this room and rearrange, right? And I used to stay up until all hours of the night. I remember when I was pregnant with my daughter, I would like stay up like redoing whatever, and my husband would be like, "Go to bed. Like, why are you still awake?" And I'm like, I just am. Like
mhm.
that's when I'm like, let's do everything. But now she's not an early riser. She's up at like 7:15, 7:30. And I'm waking her up because like girlfriend, we got to get on with the day. But it is a conscious battle with me to be like, okay, Alicia, we are not staying up until midnight. We can't do that because your alarm wakes up at 7:15, 7:30, or you're waking her up, right? You have to go to bed. And I'm like, but I really could do X, Y. No, we're not. Because then tomorrow, I told you, like, I can't handle stress. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not good. What's the lesser of two evils here? Like, what are we going to do? And I'm like, all right, well, we'll just go to bed.
Yeah, and really it's about like what works for your life, you know? If you homeschool and your kids don't have to get up and get to school and you can just start at 10 in the morning, awesome, do that, right? So it's kind of what works for our life and then how do we work our sleep with our life too and like find a nice balance. So I do that exact same thing, Alicia. I'll be like, okay, I could stay up because my husband's a night owl. I could stay up and watch a movie with him, but I have all these things to get done tomorrow. And if I don't get sleep, I will not do any of them. So I have to like run through this and decide what's like, is it more important for me to just spend time with him tonight and maybe be less productive tomorrow? Sometimes it is.
Mhm.
So yeah, we're making decisions like that. Um, hopefully that's not an every night thing. You know, it's like once in a while I do that because if I'm doing that every night and I'm flip-flopping it all the time,
Yeah.
now I'm messing with my brain and then I'm going to mess with my sleep patterns over time. So,
Right. Yeah. I'm like, okay, long-term Jessica, what are we doing here? We're gonna go to bed at a decent hour. Like that's
yes,
more important, right? Like let's prioritize ourselves because and then how old are your kids? You have four of them. How old are they?
I do. 12, 10, 7, and 4.
Okay, so my daughter is 5, and there's nothing she loves more than to call down in the middle of the night, which is great for like disruption, right? And
Mhm.
it's always for me, which I like. I'm here for it, but sometimes I'm like, no, like last night, not. But I'm like, I already know that my sleep is going to be disrupted. What could I do to bribe you to stay in bed?
Yeah.
You know, just because she wakes up to go to the bathroom, then she like realizes like, oh, I'm not there, mommy, and I'm like,
Mm.
yeah. But I'm like, I would love for you to just stay in bed.
I know. And some of those seasons of life are just like, I have to remind myself a lot. Like, this is a season. It's not
Yeah.
gonna, they're not going to be 16 and want me to come sleep with them, hopefully. But um, sometimes those things are just like, okay, how do I get through this stage? Um, like my 4-year-old still, he climbs in our bed every single night. But
Yeah.
we're at this spot now where like you just climb in and just don't wake me up. Just climb in. And then when I wake up in the morning and you're there, I'll know what happened, you know? So most of the time, that's what he does. It's not always. Sometimes he like wants me to lift him into the bed. But at this point, my brain is so trained to that I barely wake up, lift him. Like sometimes I don't even know I did it.
Yeah.
Um, and then I'm out again. So
Yeah. The calling down in the middle of the night for me, I'm like, okay, if you know that you're going to be called up, because I always just go like, worst case scenario, I'm going to be called up. You need to go to bed at a decent hour. Like, don't be
yes.
ridiculous about this. Make
Yep.
good decisions.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
don't always make good decisions. I try, but then, there's always something to do.
Yeah. Well, you're human and we all do that, and then sometimes we make the wrong decision because we thought it was going to be fine. And then our kid throws up at 2 in the morning and, so
Right.
that happens. So
Oh my gosh, that was at your house too. Cool. Okay, great.
yes, absolutely.
Oh my
Usually
gosh,
it's like
Jessica.
one in at a time. So we do that for multiple nights in a row. But
Oh, super fun. That is
yes, it's great.
great. And then you guys get it too, right?
Actually that hasn't happened in a while. So
Okay,
hopefully,
good.
I mean, it's going through again now. So hopefully that doesn't hit the rest of us, but
Okay.
through the
Well,
school, not through my house yet.
yeah. Yeah, right. There's always time.
Yeah.
Oh my
School is
God.
not out yet.
Yeah. Oh, when are you guys done with school?
Next Wednesday.
Oh, wow. You're done way
Yeah,
early.
we're really close.
Yeah.
We're done
Okay.
early. Is that what you
Yeah.
said?
hmm
When do you guys get out?
My daughter is not like in school right now. She's
Oh,
only
okay.
5, but when my stepkids were in school, it'd be like the first week of June.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my nieces that are in a bigger school district in another state, they go till June too. So
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been great chatting with you, Jessica. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know so much. I could pick your brain on so many different things. Where can everyone find you online?
so I have a website. It is pathtowardhealing.com. And on there is like I have a supplement store where you can get some of these things to help support your body. But I also have some programs for sleep. So if you're looking to just kind of like dip your toes in and see like what are some quick things I can do, and I don't have a ton of time, there's a 5-day challenge that you can join. And then I have some longer, more in-depth programs too, really focusing on sleep and like how is this affecting the body? What can you do? What can you do to support the body that will also impact your sleep? And yeah, so lots of
I
good
love
stuff
it.
there.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you so much. It was fun talking with you.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this week's episode. If anything was helpful or resonated with you, please share it on social media and tag me. I'm just at Alicia Crosco. And if you could leave a 5-star rating and a review while you're at it, that would also be really helpful. And if you find yourself struggling with your stepmom journey and you want a little bit more support without the hefty price tag of coaching, you might want to check out the Stepmom Side community, which is my own private community for stepmoms, where you get to connect with other stepmoms around the world and myself, where I hold weekly office hours and monthly group coaching. It's kind of like you have your own personal coach in your own back pocket. Again, without that hefty price tag. See you next week.